Welcome back to CIA Declassified. Today we go beneath the waves into a world of cold blood and electric signals. In the 1960s, the Office of Research and Development, the ORD, decided that the ultimate weapon wasn't made of steel, but of cartilage and teeth. They looked at the shark, nature's perfect tracking machine. If they could hijack its brain, they wouldn't need a billion-dollar drone. They would have a living torpedo. This was Operation WOOLSEY. WOOLSEY was the agency's attempt to bridge the gap between animal instinct and electronic command. Operation WOOLSEY was a CIA project that aimed to use acoustic homing to guide sharks towards specific targets, such as Soviet submarines or underwater listening posts. If that sounds ridiculous to you, you haven't listened to some of the episodes that are here on this podcast. The CIA is able to electronically and remotely control dogs, particularly German Shepherds. They're able to remotely control bulls. They work alongside numerous aquatic mammals. There's a lot of CIA utilization of the natural world, particularly with regard to animals, whenever and however they can. There's also a lot of instances where they tried to use wildlife and it completely backfired. I have episodes on that as well. So just to be clear, if you're thinking, what, they're trying to train sharks to use acoustic homing and go to specific, that's ridiculous. It's not really that ridiculous. Anyway, here we go. A quote from a declassified ORD technical memorandum: the shark's sensitivity to low frequency vibrations provides a natural platform for remote guidance via modulated acoustic signals. End quote. The agency experimented with blue sharks and hammerhead sharks, choosing them for their endurance and their highly developed electroreception. Researchers at the Narragansett, I think I'm saying that right, Narragansett Marine Laboratory, it's Narragansett, and it's based in Rhode Island. They worked with the CIA to develop neural harnesses that could withstand the high pressure of deep sea environments. The project involved brain mapping the sharks' olfactory and motor centers to identify where to place the electrodes. A quote from a 1965 status report: stimulation of the right olfactory bulb successfully induced a corresponding directional turn in the subject. End quote. The CIA investigated chemo-homing using a chemical trail released by a target that the remote-controlled shark would be compelled to follow. Operation WOOLSEY scientists developed a compass-linked electrode system that allowed a shark to maintain a specific heading without human intervention. The sharks were fitted with acoustic receivers that translated sonar pulses into electrical shocks to steer the animal like a horse with a bit. A quote from the Declassified Office of Research and Development: the animal's predatory drive is redirected toward the man-made signal, effectively masking the artificial nature of the command. End quote. The project tested shark-mounted cameras, early prototypes designed to broadcast a grainy visual feed of submarine holes back to a mothership. WOOLSEY researchers discovered that sharks could be trained to identify the acoustic signature of specific Soviet nuclear propellers. The agency explored the use of self-destruct mechanisms attached to the harness, though there is no record of these being successfully deployed in the wild. Technical challenges included saltwater corrosion of the electrodes, which often caused the sharks to malfunction or become aggressive toward the handlers. A quote from Dr. Perry Gilbert, shark researcher and consultant: we are teaching the tiger of the sea to take orders from a battery pack. End quote. The ORD attempted to use pulsed microwaves to signal sharks near the surface, though the water's density made this unreliable. Operation WOOLSEY ran concurrently with Acoustic Kitty, the agency's ill-fated attempt to turn cats into mobile listening devices. The project found that bull sharks were the most resilient to the electrode implantation process due to their extreme hardiness. Agency budget logs show that hundreds of thousands of dollars were funneled into marine biotelemetry during the WOOLSEY years. The Navy eventually took over parts of the research, leading to the Marine Mammal Program involving dolphins and sea lions. A quote from a 1961 internal CIA memo: "The psychological impact on an enemy crew seeing a shark intentionally ramming their vessel cannot be overstated." End quote. The primary testing grounds for the initial electrode trials were situated in the turquoise waters off the coast of Key West, Florida, where the agency could monitor shark movements and relative privacy. A quote from a declassified 1964 Scientific Advisory Board report: "Our current understanding of the elasmobranch," I think I'm saying that way wrong, elasmobranch central nervous system remains the primary bottleneck for precise vectoring, end quote. And that word that I think I pronounced correctly is elasmobranch. End quote. To solve the power supply problem, agency engineers worked on a bio-battery that could harvest electricity from the shark's own muscle movements as it swam through the current. The 1960s documents reveal that the ORD experimented with infrasound signals, which can travel hundreds of miles through the ocean, to signal sharks from a central hub located at the Guantanamo Bay Naval Base. A quote from Captain Harold Drake from Naval Intelligence: "If we can control the shark, we can control the very environment the Soviet submarine considers its sanctuary." End quote. As we look at the declassified files, the final 5 pages of the 1969 operational deployment summary are totally redacted. It is labeled the Deep Drift. Get ready for the theory of the Leviathan link. Speculation suggests that Operation WOOLSEY actually succeeded in creating a hive mind of sharks that are still patrolling the Atlantic today, waiting for a frequency the CIA lost in 1969. What if the sharks weren't just for sinking subs? A dark rumor suggests the electrodes allowed the agency to see through the shark's eyes, making the entire ocean a gigantic CTV camera. Some whisper that the redactions hide the sunken city. Speculation suggests the sharks weren't assassins, but guides to an underwater base. And the black bars hide the GPS coordinates of an agency facility on the ocean floor. Watch out for the mechanical menace theory. It claims the agency realized live sharks were too hard to control and replaced them with realistic robotic sharks, and the redactions hide the location of the underwater charging stations. What if the sharks could sense the future? Speculation suggests the redactions hide evidence that the electrodes accidentally tapped into the shark's ability to sense electromagnetic shifts before major disasters, and the CIA uses them to predict stock market crashes somehow. Could the sharks hear the dead? A wild rumor suggests the acoustic homing frequency accidentally opened a portal to a different dimension, and the redactions are the transcripts of the voices the sharks were following into the dark. Brace for the giant squids theory. It claims the WOOLSEY technology was actually used on much larger ancient creatures that the agency found in the Mariana Trench, and the redactions hide the size of the Project K. Some believe the redactions hide the human-shark bridge. Speculation posits that the CIA tried to link a human pilot's brain to a shark's via satellite, and the black bars hide the names of the divers who never woke up. Beware the ghost shark rumor. It claims the agency found a way to keep the sharks alive without food or oxygen using the electrodes, and the redactions hide the fact that there are undead predators circling every major harbor. Some speculate the black bars hide the global override. The theory is that the CIA has a single button that can turn every shark on the planet into a weapon, and the redactions hide the date they plan to test it. Listen closely to the deep sea librarian theory. It claims the agency didn't use sharks for war, but as biological hard drives, and the redactions hide the fact that the entire CIA archives are currently stored in the DNA of a great white roaming the Pacific. What if the assassins changed sides? Speculation suggests the redactions hide a 1968 incident where the sharks began hunting the agency's own researchers, and the black bars hide the surrender documents the CIA had to sign with the Shark Kingdom. Brace for the food chain hijack rumor. It claims the agency developed a frequency that makes sharks ignore fish and only hunt Soviet-made rubber. And the redactions hide the list of lifeboats that were mysteriously eaten during the 1970s. Could the ocean be a giant antenna? Speculation posits that the redactions hide Project Salt Signal, where the agency used the shark's saltwater conduction to create a global radio that can reach through the center of the Earth. Lastly, get ready for the land walker theory. It claims the agency's redactions hide evidence of an experimental shark variant with biological legs designed for beachside kidnappings, and the black bars are hiding the current location of the breeding tanks in New Jersey. Was Operation WOOLSEY a success? Technically, it was a marvel. The agency successfully demonstrated that a complex predator could be driven like a vehicle. However, operationally, it was a logistical nightmare. Sharks don't have a stop button. They have to keep swimming to breathe, and their biological drives, hunger, mating, and migration, frequently overrode the CIA's commands. The program was quietly shelved, but the technology lived on in the more cooperative dolphins of the U.S. Navy. As far as technological and operational breakthroughs go, the legacy of the shark electrodes is still being felt today. Neural interface engineering, early pioneers in brain-computer interfaces that would later lead to medical prosthetic controls, definitely had breakthroughs because of this. Deep sea biotelemetry, developing transmitters that can send high-frequency data through miles of salt water. Acoustic wave modulation, refining the way sound carries information underwater to avoid detection by enemy sonar. And directional olfactory stimulation, a breakthrough in understanding how to trigger specific behaviors in animals by mimicking natural chemical scents. Operation WOOLSEY shows us that the agency's reach doesn't stop at the shoreline. The next time you're out in the deep blue and you see a dorsal fin, don't just worry about the teeth, worry about the potential battery pack. Thanks for joining us. Join us next time we examine the sleep learning chair. The agency needed a way to turn an agent into a local in 48 hours. We'll uncover the headrest fitted with bone conduction speakers. We'll look at how the CIA used chemically induced sleep to bypass the conscious mind and download entire foreign languages directly into an agent's skull. Join us for the linguistic lullaby next time. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.